Hey everyone, time for another Ticket Talk. Today I'm going to talk about this show, Jackson Browne, July 13th, 2013, at Levon Helm's barn in Woodstock, New York. I'm filming this today because it would have been Levon Helm's 80th birthday today. He passed away in 2012, sadly. But I loved Levon's music, either with the band, solo, doesn't matter. His album, Dirt Farmer, is one that should be on everybody's CD shelf or their record shelf. If you haven't heard it, I mean, go get it. It's just so authentic, so real, man, I just loved his stuff. And seeing Levon and the Midnight Ramble band play at his barn in Woodstock was always a thrill. You never seen a bunch of musicians be on stage and just loved performing so much. So this one's for Levon. If you don't know what I'm talking about, the barn, Levon had built a studio at his house and called it the barn, and he used to run his shows there. They used to call the Midnight Ramble sessions, and he would run these shows, and the money would go to music-based charities in Woodstock, New York, in that area. That was Levon's way of giving back to his home community. And it's a great venue. It holds about 100 people. It's like a log exterior, and you go upstairs and there's this music studio. It's just a little stage and 100 seats, a little balcony. Phenomenal place to see it, and the people who worked there were just amazing. I've got a number of great stories about them, about trips to Levon's, to see Levon play there with his band, and it's just one of those great American venues, great music venues of all time that you got to see to experience to believe it. I saw Jackson Browne there. This is after Levon had passed away. This is 2013. Jackson Browne, one of my favorites. That the California sound, the acoustic folk rock sound. I'd seen him before do an acoustic show, just him and a guitar and piano, or several guitars and a piano. This was one with a full band, and at Levon's shows or at the Midnight Ramble sessions, whenever went to Levon's place, I'd always try to get. I would always go alone, so it was easy to get a single seat, and I'd always sit right up front, right beside stage. Normally, when I saw Levon there, I would be right in front of him at the drum kit because I used to see him used to love seeing him play the drums. But in this case, I was like front row center, right in front of Jackson, to the point where I could have, if I wanted to, reach out and strummed his guitar. That's how close he was to me at that show. Brilliant show. What a performer. I actually made him burst out laughing because there's this part at the end of Running on Empty where there's like a drum kick, do 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 do, and I air drummed it because I always do, because that's like one of my favorite musical moments, that little drum kick, and I air drummed it, and he looked down at me, saw this, and started laughing, just burst out laughing, which I thought was kind of neat. Great show. After the show is when things got really hairy for me. So, after the show, you kind of sit around and you talk with the staff and some of the artists, if they're out there. I met, Jackson's opening, his lead guitarist was the opener, and ended up talking with him for a bit. And by the time I left, it was pretty late. It was probably 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. And I had to go to a hotel. And so I drive to the hotel, and I've got my GPS that navigates me there. And unfortunately, this is right after some major flooding had devastated, the Woodstock area. So the road had been washed out. So I get to the turn where I'm supposed to get to the hotel, and the road's washed out. There's big giant blockades, can't get there. And I can see my hotel, but there wasn't a way to get there. So I plug in an alternate route in the GPS, and it basically says I have to go all the way behind and back down the mountain, kind of up the other side, and then access the road or the hotel from the road the other way. And GPS says it's going to be about an hour and a quarter, maybe an hour and a half drive. And I'm thinking, this is now, 1:45 almost, maybe almost 2 o'clock. So I don't want to, and I got to get back, I got to start driving back home early in the morning. It's a 7.5, 8 hour drive. So I'm like, there's got to be a better way. So I look at my GPS, and there's a little road that would cut my trip by about an hour, so it'd only be like a 20-minute drive to just go around, skirt through this road, and come back. Well, I get to this road, and there's a dead end sign, and I'm thinking, The GPS has never failed me. It shows a road, so I'm gonna go through. So picture this: it's pitch black outside. It's in a like a foresty area, wooded area, and I go through this. I go past this dead end road sign, and I start driving, and I'm kind of like it's a mountain area, so I'm kind of on this little nature hike, like a trail, and but it's all rocks. It's all like rocky, and it's trees are kind of like scratching, not rubbing up against the mirrors or the windows. I can't really see anything because it's dark, except for these rocks. And then the rocks start jutting out into big giant, like blocks, like building blocks or Lego blocks, but big giant ones. So I'm like driving slow, probably less than 10 kilometers per hour, probably five. Just going slowly so I don't puncture a tire or bottom out the car on these rocks. And the trees are there's almost enough room for my car to just kind of go through, but it's clear, it's hitting branches and moving them out of the way. And then I'm thinking, oh my god, I'm in some trouble here because I'm completely stuck. I can't see behind me. I can't see in front of me because of the trees. So I start like looking down between the dashboard and the steering wheel, and I just see rocks, and then I see water, and I'm thinking, I can't back up. I can't go forward. Hopefully the water's not too deep. So I go through it, and my car starts going down, 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 to the point where the water was actually up above the hood and almost kind of over, like up to the windshield. It's covering up the sides of the car. I'm still going down, and I'm thinking now, okay, my GPS is still working, but I didn't have I had my cell phone, but there was no signal on the cell phone. I said, if this car stalls or bottoms out, or if, heaven forbid, it sinks, I'm pooched. There's no way I'm getting out of this one. So I keep going, and I'm going, and thankfully my car, God love my car, got through it. It kind of got back up, and then more rocks and very slowly, a little more water, luckily not as deep this time, but still, past the bumper and up into, halfway up to the hood. One of the most terrifying experiences of driving in my life. I finally emerge out of this trail, and I end up driving between two houses into this residential neighborhood. It took about 45 minutes, so I didn't save a lot of time, but I saved, still some time. But I ended up driving between the two houses, this residential neighborhood, make my turn, get to the motel where I'm staying. And the motel, there's a sign up saying if you arrive late, come to the main house and, they'll get the key. So I go there, I get the key, and the guy comes in to let me in, and he looks at my car. I hadn't really noticed. And he says, "Hey man, that's a cool paint job." I go, "What are you talking about?" And I look, and my car, from about a third of the way down, all the way down, is solid neon glowing green. I guess algae or some sort of chemical substance from this lake that I was driving through. And then the top was black. So he thought it was like a two-tone color paint job. Yeah, I didn't have the heart to tell him it wasn't. The next day I drove back home with this ridiculous neon green half painted car until I got home, and then finally took it to a car wash. Luckily, no lasting damage to the car. It's still running perfectly. I still have it, and saved my life that night. Anyway, great times, and wouldn't trade that experience for the world. Got to see Jackson Browne, got to see a show at the barn, and got a story to tell. Anyway, that's it for now, and we'll talk to you another one, or talk again at another time. Thanks.